I will say right now that uh, I will say right now that Ezra Hudson straight up lied to Jamie Heath when she claimed that uh that there were the same recounting for the the trailer situation by all three women, and Carol, Vivian Baker, and Blake Lively, because that is just not true. I have never seen people have such a variety of stories. So some parts of their deposition back up Jamie Heath, and some parts of it back up Blake Lively, and some parts of it deny things that even Blake Lively said. With that said, I am not going to go through all the pieces. So if you want to see my other video, Blake and Jamie's retelling of the trailer story is almost the same. That is the title of the video that I originally did um like last night. And so I'm not going to reread everything that Jamie and Blake said. The only portions I will reread is that the places where I added new things for both Anne and Vivian. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. We're going to start with Vivian before Jamie Heath even arrives and she shares what it was that Blake Lively was doing. So according to Vivian, Miss Lively had come in and removed her clothes, and they were handed out to the door to costume or someone there that they could take the costume. And I believe she was only in underwear, and she sat down in the chair and she had the baby. The baby was given to her, and I'm pretty sure the assistant had left, and we began to do our work, and then the knock came on the door, and we would have said, no, 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 don't come in. So she was quite scantily clad because we'd just removed her costume and we were going to clean her up. So there wasn't a state. I mean, I think we were, as I said, we're always very cognizant of how much, get people off the clock so that they can get a turnaround. So we were busily working. So I would have been to the right, but facing her. And I believe Anne would have been to her left, facing at her. Okay. So I said, this is the first time we hear an acknowledgement of the baby, which is why Jamie may have thought she was breastfeeding, nursing, or pumping. Because the story we always heard was she was doing body makeup. She was getting her body makeup done or removed. We've heard both versions. The recalling of Justin Baldoni and Alex Sachs is she was getting it done. Now, maybe when they say getting it done, they may have also meant removed because it was very late at night. So maybe they were all on the same page that she was getting body makeup removed. But this is also Vivian Baker confirming, at least her version does, that there was a baby involved in this whole trailer situation. According to Vivian, her breasts were absolutely exposed. Blake was facing the mirror, seated in the chair. So she's saying she was seated in a chair. Okay? I want you to keep that in mind when we hear Anne's version of things. Now, the interesting thing is she does say chair, but then she changes that a little bit later and says something else. So she says, according to Anne, and I read this yesterday, Blake was having body makeup done in the trailer by Vivian. We heard the door open and looked and went, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it was Jamie at the door. I grabbed a cutting cape, which was over my chair, and held it up to try and cover her. And she said, Blake said, whoa, whoa, don't come in. Jamie says, it will only take a second. And that's when all this action was happening. So on one hand, we have Vivian Baker saying that Blake Lively was naked and she was breastfeeding. She had the baby. I guess she hasn't said she was breastfeeding. She'll say that later, but she hasn't said it yet. So she has the baby and she's in a chair. Now, according to Anne, she's also in a chair before Jamie walks in, but he starts talking to her, right? He's talking to her. So it's so weird that she starts out in a chair with Anne, and then later it's not in a chair anymore. So we'll get there. So they ask if Jamie knocked, right? Because Blake Lively and Jamie Heath both say he knocked. So according to Vivian, she goes, my memory is vague. I think there was a knock. What I remember most specifically is all three of us. So there must have been a knock saying, no, don't come in, and no, don't come in. It was quite loud so that they wouldn't come in. It was myself, Anne, and all Blake saying it at the same time, mouthing many times. Yeah, no, 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 not now. We're not, like each person participated in the, don't come in. But according to Anne, Jamie didn't knock on the door. And she's the only person who claims this. No one else claims this, only Anne. not even Blake Lively. According to Blake Lively, Jamey says, if we don't meet now, we can't do that meeting. According to Vivian, Jamey said, I'm going to have this conversation now. I'm not going to wait. So according to Blake Lively, Jamey comes in. And for Jamey, his version says he took a step up. He saw Blake was leaned back. She looked what he thought was either breastfeeding or nursing. And he said, oh, it looks like you're busy. I can come back. And according to Alex's text message to Ange, Blake said on the June 1st meeting, Jamey went into her trailer. According to Vivian, first she says they come in. And then they said after they opened the door, we all saw that it was Jamey. So I don't know who, like, if when she says they come in, I don't know if she was trying to say all of them were trying to come in. But then later on, she says after they opened the door, I don't know who they are. Like, are they is she talking about like Jamey, Justin, Alex, and Ange? Who was they, right? And here's another thing that's very different is that these three women claimed they were the only people in the space, and she claims that the assistant left. Jamey Heath was like, the assistant was there, and so was the nanny. But the nanny and the assistant are not mentioned at all in this thing, at all, by these three women. And yet they acknowledge the assistant was there, but they claim she left, right? But anyways, or at least Vivian Baker claims this. So according to Vivian, they come in after they opened the door. We all saw there was Jamey, and there was and Blake said, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember her saying, I'll talk to you about this later. Like, let me go ahead and move on. I'll get dressed. We'll talk about it later. And I think he said something to the tune of, no, we'll do it now. And I have small towels, like, a little small towel that I think that I finally just threw over the other breast because he didn't leave the room. And Blake was breastfeeding. I believe at the right breast, it left her left breast exposed. When Jamey entered, she never turned around to speak to him. It was all done through the mirror. So I said, no, she claims Blake says this after Jamey had already come in. But Blake's version has him saying that outside her door before coming in. Now, I don't know, like, there's a distance because apparently there's a hallway. They say that he doesn't even come into the room. There's a hallway, y'all. This is wild to me. Anyways, however, she does confirm Jamey's story that Blake was breastfeeding. And according to Anne, Blake was towards the far right of this trailer. Now she's standing. Originally, she covered her with a cape, but now Vivian's saying she covered her with with a towel. But now, like Anne's saying, before Jamey comes in, or as Jamey comes in, Blake is actually standing towards the far right of the trailer. Like, she's standing. She's not in a chair anymore. She didn't recall what direction Blake was facing, but she was wearing nothing or a nude thong, and her breasts were exposed. So I'm like, was she sitting? Was she standing? I mean, according to Jamey Heath, she was laying back. It's like nobody has the same statement at all. So Blake Lively claims that Jamey turned around and faced the wall. Jamey says he walked over to the side and looked away. But according to Vivian, Jamey was standing at the door with the door still mildly open. So the door is probably open maybe a foot, and he would be obstructing that opening. But nonetheless, the door was open. And he didn't come into the room to close the door. He was still in the doorway. The door remained ajar the entirety of the discussion, and the door was partly behind him, and he would be able to look through the mirror. She remembers that he engaged in a conversation, and the conversation he wanted to have, and he was absolutely looking at Blake through the mirror where he would be able to see that she was topless. Now, according to Anne, she didn't know where Jamey was standing because her back was to him, so he was behind her. And then she said that where Jamey was standing, if Blake was facing the mirror, Jamey would have seen Blake's breast exposed. Though she backtracks a little bit later and says that she can't speak to him seeing her exposed breast, but a nude body or a visual of her unclothed. And I wrote in my note, how is that possible? She said she didn't know where he was standing, but that he was behind her. And if he could see Blake through the mirror, wouldn't she be able to also see Jamey? I mean, if they noticed he was doing it, why did no one stop him from looking? And then we find out the reason why no one stopped him from looking okay, we'll get there. Blake said, my personal time is important to me because I have a newborn baby. When I go home, I prepare for the next day. I feed my baby. I work out. I have a lot of responsibilities. I really need my time. And this is not a personal meeting. It's a production meeting. And Jamey says that Blake eventually said no. She had to have it that night, and she would not waive any sort of turnaround time and do it off record. According to Anne, they had a discussion. And according to Vivian, she says, I think they had whatever their discussion was. I don't remember the words. I became very focused on getting my job done to get her out as quickly as possible. So then Blake said that she was incredibly shaken, and so were her hair and makeup people. And according to Vivian, after Jamey left, there wasn't much of a discussion, but her eyes were open, her mouth dropped. She thinks she said, I've never seen anyone do that before. And Anne may have agreed with me, she says. I think we were all really just in a state of shock. There was not a discussion per se, is what Vivian claims. Now, according to Anne, Blake said to us, he was staring at me in the mirror. And I just recall being sort of flabbergasted by the whole experience. And I said, so Blake had to tell them it happened for them to actually know that it did? She told them after he left? So she never told him while he was in the room. So this means that Anne Carroll, Jamey Heath, Vivian Baker all put the conversation after Jamey had left, but not in real time. Meaning she didn't say it to him. Vivian can't back it up. She doesn't back it up that Blake Lively said anything. She doesn't recall. Anne claims that the conversation happens after Jamey has left the trailer, right? And so either way, Jamey would not have known. So it happened May 16th. He did not know until May 29th and again, June 1st, depending on how much Ange told her about what Blake Lively had shared. So Blake Lively claims she finished up her work and went in and took the meeting. Jamey said she walked out 4 or 5 minutes later, greeted them, said hello. Jamey, Justin, Ange, Alex, and Blake all went into her trailer and had the discussion she wanted to meet with them all about. And then according to Vivian, we just finished our work and let Blake get out of there. I also said that Jamey says that he was never told that she thought he looked at her until the June 1st meeting. And I said, according to Vivian, she says, I don't have a specific memory at the time of what she may have said to him then, and I don't know what she may have said to him later regarding looking in the mirror. Dash 13. So the new sources, I've just typed it in, include Vivian Baker's deposition at document 1230-13, and then Anne Carroll's deposition at 1230-23. Anyways, super interesting, y'alls. At the end of the day, I think that it's just really interesting how much the story's different. So the things that we can say for sure, it happened on May 16th. We know it happened the second day of filming. We know it happened in her hair and makeup trailer. Now there's 2 people corroborating there was a baby. So there was breastfeeding happening, according to Vivian Baker. And that's what Jamey Heath thought was happening when her back was leaned and it seemed to be that she was breastfeeding. Now, everybody else also talked about body makeup being removed. I think both things are true. She was doing breastfeeding and she was getting body makeup removed. I also think that I'm more likely to believe she never told Jamey Heath in real time, because not even her own witnesses corroborate that she said it in real time. They could not say that she actually stated those words. Also, it's very interesting that Blake Lively had to tell them that he was looking at her, according to Anne Carroll. Like, they didn't know. Because I think that if they did know, they would have done something. So my question is, like, why didn't Blake Lively make them aware? Because they were being very protective of her when he was first coming in. So it would be weird for them to suddenly not be protective of her and just let him just stare at her willy-nilly. But she does not tell them until he has left the room. So, according to Anne Carroll and according to Jamey Heath, he never knows until Ange talks to him on May 29th, and then obviously conversation with Blake Lively on June 1st. So, yeah, it is one of those things where you got to decide which pieces are important to you. Do you think it's important that, I think you have to decide how to merge all of these versions together and go, what is the closest to the truth of what happened that night? And is it SH?